Good afternoon. I'm Stefania Coppo from the University of Padova, and welcome to this new appointment with the Alumni Talks, which is organized by the Alumni Association of the University of Padova within the frame of the activities of the Arcus Alliance, which is an alliance among European universities that aims to enhance and develop mobilities and joint programs to lay the foundations for a more connected and more inclusive future European space of knowledge, learning, and research. The talks give testimonies to inspire our community of students and early stage researchers for their future in or and out the academia. Today, our speaker is Victoria, who has lived and studied in so many places and has founded a platform called Young and Hired that is the core of her speech today. Thank you, Victoria, for having accepted our invitation and for being here today. And before leaving the floor to Victoria, a brief greetings from Cristina Felicioni, who is the director of the Alumni Association, which is a very special partner for the university in this project. So, Cristina, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you, Stefania, and thank you. Nice to meet you all here. So crowding our alumni talks. I thank you very much to be here, and I thanks especially Victoria that she's an alumna, very special alumna, and she will talk about her, first of all, her path in an international career. I mean, she made a very good career, and she can share with you all her experience and her competence. And so thank you very much, Victoria. Thank you all. Thank you, Stefania, for for this opportunity to share our alumni talks and alumni stories. So
thank you, Cristina. Thank you.
Go ahead, Victoria.
And before, Victoria, you start your speech, I would remind the audience that at the end of your speech, we can have a Q&A session. So anyone who has a question for Victoria can raise the hands or just open the microphone, and she will be happy to reply to all your comments or questions. So thank you very much. Thank you.
I only add that someone asked that it would be possible to find the recording for this. I think yes, and Ilaria will send you anything about to find the recording of the entire talks. Go ahead, Victoria. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the invitation and the possibility to speak with the guys. And so first of all, I will share my screen so you can see it visually too. And so let me know if everything works. Okay, so today the name of our presentation is Believe in Yourself, Express Your Talent, Your Path to an International Career. And before I will start speaking, I will present myself again. My name is Victoria Sofia, and I am a Young and Hired founder, and I will explain you a bit later what it means. I'm working already, I think, more or less like about 6 years in the HR industry. And beside this, I'm also a blogger. Before working with this, I worked a lot with UN organizations, international organizations, and I will tell you a bit more about this. In 2022, I also have become a UN Migration and GFMD ambassador for the impact of helping young people around the world to find their career. So, but before I will tell you a bit more about our topic, I want to explain a bit my path, and I'll explain why exactly I decided to work with this, because it's absolutely connected with my own pains and my own problems that I had. So I always wanted to work in international relations, but the problem is that at a certain point, after a couple of internships at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I understood that I don't want to become a diplomat, and I didn't understand what exactly I can do besides this. And that was the moment when I started my master's degree at the University of Padova, or Università di Padova. And it was really amazing because this is what really helped me to understand what exactly I can do. Anyway, like I was learning about different things, about different subjects. As a person who was born with a phone, let's say, or as they called us, digital natives, I wanted to see real examples of people showing their international relations life, because I consume information online, and I wanted to see real people on social media. And when I was studying, unfortunately, it was really very hard to find somebody on Instagram who was telling this kind of stories. And of course, my professors were really helping me a lot, and were telling me a lot of things. I also wanted to see something online. And at that moment, during my studies at University of Padua, what really helped me a lot was the possibility to do a lot of exchanges, international exchanges, because I was thinking, okay, international career means international exchanges. And the good part about University of Padua was that it was really possible to do a lot of exchanges. And during my studies, I did one exchange at Boston University, and was studying there in the US. And another exchange that I did was at Sciences Po Paris, and I was studying in France for a while. It was really time changing for me, because while I was studying in Paris, I attended one of the career fairs where I was hired by UN agency, by UNESCO. And UNESCO took me to work at the HR department as a communication specialist, because probably the reason why I was trying to find information on social media was exactly because I had a lot of calm experience, and I knew how social media worked. But at the moment while I was studying, unfortunately, there was not so much information online. And when people even worked in international relations, it was really very scarce information itself, because usually IR workers didn't really show their life. And at the HR department of UNESCO, I was doing communications, and one of the goals that we had was to engage more young people at the UN system. And it was really very hard at that moment. And since I was saying that it was really cool, like to get engaged with people and with young people online on social media, it was a very, let's say, an experimental thing, like for the UN agency too. I started speaking about this experience on social media, and I created my own blog, Victoria Speaking, where I started speaking about different UN opportunities. Because at the moment when I was doing this, it was in 2020. There were no bloggers about international relations. So it was very new on social media. And I was learning also about this kind of social media channels to speak about these things. So of course, like all the UN agencies had their Instagram accounts at that moment, but they were not like real people and examples of bloggers who could really tell about these things in a very simple language. And at the same time, to be a youngster who is just graduating, who is just studying, and learning about these different things. So this is how I started just my blog, because I was sharing opportunities, and at the same time I was analyzing information in order to understand how what kind of ideas and what kind of common grounds can be with young people. So what exactly they struggle with when they search for opportunities, or when they try to understand what to do in international relations. And it was a great experience, because this is how I was growing, and how I went then like to work with Young and Hired. So the path was that I was growing my account as a person who was just telling about my international relations experience, about my fears, about opportunities at the same time that I knew, because I was working for Paris. And at a certain moment, I understood that I had so many people, and I was also changing my career, like working with one agency, then working then like in business, and working yet like with United Nations institutions. And I knew already more information, and I wanted to share not just about UNESCO, but also other organizations I was working with. And this is how I started my project Young and Hired. And it was just like Instagram page first, like where I was giving different tips as a separate like entity. Then it was growing more and more and more and more. And then like now already when we speak about Young and Hired, it's a big ecosystem and EdTech and HR platform to build a career where we have more than 200,000 audience around the world. And we offer career consultations. We also offer career courses, workshops, and books. And when I say Young and Hired, actually, it's not just me. now Young and Tired is already a team of top international experts with career experience at the world's most prestigious organizations that has joined forces to create this project. And I will explain a bit more like about what it means, like, because it's a very nice sentence. But if I explain it in simple words, it means that in our team, we have a lot of consultants like me who are working at the moment really at the biggest international organizations like UN, UNHCR, UN OSHA, IFAD, FAO, UN Volunteers, UN ITU, etc. But not only this, actually, we also have people who work at organizations like Ernst & Young or CNN or Condé Nast and etc. because we were growing. And all those people who got job offers, let's say, who, as we can say in slang, who made it, are now in our team, and they are consulting young people around the world and explaining them how to get a job offer at this organization. So, the courses that we are doing with this team of consultants are just career courses. So we are not teaching degree, because we understand that there are a lot of amazing universities around the world who do this, as actually University of Padua, who gave me really amazing education. So what we are doing, we are just giving skills in order to get a job at these specific institutions. Because when we speak about international organizations, it's not the same recruitment as, for example, to get a job as a small NGO or in a small private sector company. When we speak about a big institutions, usually it's a very complex recruitment cycle. And because what we see that young people are really afraid of these long applications. So what we are trying to do is to explain how to do this, how to fill in the forms, how to do your CV, how to do your cover letter, and at the same time to show you real people who made it. Because we see this stigma sometimes that people think, okay, I will not apply because it's impossible, it doesn't work, so I'm just like, as I say, like, I'm just a simple girl, like it will never work. But in reality, it really works if you understand the structure in the system. So, before that, I want to give you a little statistic, because we are analyzing a lot all the time what is going on in the world and why actually we are doing this, like as an additional support for young people in international organizations, is because we see that a lot of young people are seeking career growth. At the same time, when you are studying at university, it's normal that you don't know what to do, because the cool thing about international careers and international relations in general, what I was studying global affairs, is that it gives you a really big overview of things you can do in general. And some people are really scared by this, because they understand that what is happening here is a paradox of choice, because you have a really great choice of what you can potentially do. But at the same time, it's cool because you can do so many things. And during this lecture, I will try to give you a little overview what you can do potentially with this degree, because to do this degree is actually is like being in a lottery if you know what you can potentially do with this. So that's why another important thing that I wanted to highlight here. So what you see now in the slide is that now in the world, we see a rising demand for careers in ethical industries. And when you study international relations, actually, this is one of the strongest points that you have, is that you understand what sustainability means. And you can really help the world to be more sustainable, to be more green. And that's why, like, it's a really great point. The most important thing is just to understand what to do with this, like, and how to go next. So in general, what we see with YH is that very often there are so many misconceptions, there are so many stereotypes when people don't understand like what to do next, how to create their international career. And honestly, I want to tell that I was also like at that point, honestly, because I remember that when I was studying, I had like an idea that at a certain point I understood that I wanted to work for the UN. And then I opened the UN website and I didn't understand anything actually, because it was so complex. It was so like not comprehensive for me as a newcomer, and I was really so grateful for my to my professors, because some of them had this kind of experience, so they were explaining me a bit like how it works. But I understand that sometimes when you just study this thing, like you really have a lot of questions, like how to start. Do you really need a master's degree to work for the UN? Or, for example, if you don't want to work in diplomacy, but for example in climate tech or in fashion, can you use your international relations degree, etc.? Or how to start building. So, like, if I can tell you what is the most frequent questions we get at YH is how to start. I have an IR degree, what I can do. So it's an absolutely normal question. So you don't need to be ashamed, because you are growing, you are learning, and this degree is so wide that it gives you so many opportunities. And you can use this lecture, for example, that I'm giving you now, like after years of working with many young people around the world and having the same questions, I can confirm that it's normal. And so what you can do is just to listen what exactly you can do and what is the scope. And this is what we will try to do with you. So I will use a lot of the methodologies that we use at YH today during this lecture. So you can just practically be like do things that we do, and at the same time use this lecture not just to inspire and think, but at the same time something practical you can use at home also, like when you will be working with your career. So usually when we understand like how we want to build our career, so we usually ask the students to do the line of point A and point B. And we usually say that now, like when you're studying, so you are having your point A, so you are a student. At your point B, usually you have your career goal, and then you start working with this line. So I will give you just a very like draft line how you can work with this. So for example, let's say that now you are studying at, let's say at University of Padova, yeah, like, and now you're a student. So this is your point A. Let's say that you more or less understood that you would like to work for the UN. And then like the most important thing is to be more as specific as possible. So let's say that you understood that you want to work for the UN, but UN has more than 500 duty stations around the world. So it's very important to understand where exactly you would like to work. So let's say that you understood more or less that you would like to be located in Switzerland. So you want to work in Geneva. So this is also not enough. After that, you need to understand what kind of job you want to do at the UN, because UN doesn't mean that you are a diplomat. UN is usually is divided between two important things. So you have diplomats at the UN and you have the management positions. Diplomats are all those people who are usually sent by their country to the UN. So for example, you are from Austria, so you can be a person who is sent to work at the UN from the Austrian government, the Austrian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So in this case, you have a diplomatic position. And in this case, you are not applying to the UN directly. So you are appointed by your country. So you need to live in your country. So you need to pursue a diplomatic career. This is what is called a diplomatic career in a classic way, let's say. As I said, like the second part of the UN, the biggest part is the management positions. And usually the management positions are serving the diplomats in order to help them negotiate, in order to do different projects, in order to save the world, like let's say like in different ways, like in simple words. So here you have a big variety of things you can potentially do. Because on the one hand, you can choose the agency where you would like to work. So let's say you want to work with climate. So you want to, in this case, you will apply to UNEP, like a UN environmental program that is with the headquarters in the African country. Or so if you want to work with human rights, or you want to work with refugees, in this case, you will go to the UNHCR. So in order to understand the system, you can find online the big map of the UN that is called UN system on the official website, and to learn for yourself, like more or less like what kind of directions you can potentially have. But don't worry, because like a bit later during this lecture, we'll also speak with you about this. So coming back to our point B, so when you understand exactly where, after that you try to think what kind of positions you can potentially do. As I said, like in the management positions, you have a big variety of things you can do. And when I say big variety, it's really big variety. It's not just lawyer or a project manager, or for example, you can even be a driver. UN is also like trying to get the drivers. So there's such a big variety of things you can do. That's why sometimes what is interesting about the UN is that even if you didn't study international relations, you can still work there, because the management positions are so various, so different, that you can be either a journalist or a lawyer, and you can still work in the system. So it's a big misconception when you think that you just need to study international relations or political science in order to work there. Actually, UN needs all types of workers, and not because they have so many duty stations around the world, but also because there are projects that can be of many topics in the world. So let's say that you understand more or less that you want to do project management. Yeah, so you want to work more or less like in this sphere. So in order to understand this, also you need to go to the UN careers website, because every agency and the official website has a careers website where they post all the vacancies possible. Because the questions that we also have very often is where to find opportunities. Actually, UN has a very transparent recruitment system where you just go to their UN website, you put the filters, and after that you can see all the positions possible where you can be a good fit. So later during this lecture, also like we'll show you a bit the website if some of you has never seen this website before, because I remember that when I was a student, I was really scared when I opened this website and I didn't understand anything absolutely. So why I'm saying this now already, because the next step for you will be to analyze the positions in this sphere and understand more or less the requirements. So you can have a question now like, why should I do this now if I'm just a student? Because usually UN positions are requiring work experience, and usually the minimum years of work experience you usually need is 3 years of work experience. So it means that if you understand that you want to work for the UN, when you're yet studying at your university, you already need to think about this, because you need to think how to plan your next years in order to get this position. Sometimes there are situations when you can get a position after your graduation, but usually we are speaking about entry-level positions like internships. And unfortunately, not all internships can guarantee that you can be employed after this internship position. That's why what is the best advice, best tip in this case is to plan your life and understand that, for example, you are now in your point A, you're yet studying, but you would like to work for the UN, for example, in 5 years. So I wrote this in this line that, for example, let's say that in 2026, you will have your graduation. So you already understand where you would like to go, and it's better to be as specific as possible. And you understand that, okay, so I analyzed 15 positions of project managers at the UN now. So I understood that statistically they ask for 3 years of work experience for a P1 position. So I will spend my next 3 years in the private sector or a non-governmental organization in order to get this work experience. Because usually when UN is getting, so when they are recruiting, they need relevant work experience and they need real work experience. Because another problem that is happening very often is that young people, when they apply there, and they apply their volunteer experience that was not paid. When it's written work experience, it means paid experience. So it means that you got a salary, even if it's very small salary, even if it's absolutely unknown little organization. So anyway, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is that it's paid work experience, because in this case, it means work experience. Of course, if your CV has some work experience, in this case, like your CV is already stronger than of the candidate that just has volunteering experience, even for a very big organization. So it's a very important thing to understand at the beginning if you're yet studying, because we see that a lot of candidates do this kind of mistake very often. So they don't want to go to a private sector, or they don't want to go to a small NGO. Anyway, like these 3 years, like if we look at the whole life, it's not a very long period, but it can really change your life if you want to go higher, because it's better to understand from the beginning that UN is a very high level thing. And it's cool if you can prepare for this from the beginning and not to ask questions now, but like while you're studying, already start researching these things. But in order to understand what kind of point B you can potentially have, the first question you need to ask yourself is, what do you want? Not to understand it after, when you already have graduated, or when you're already like working somewhere, but to ask already now, because if you're still studying, it's a great moment for yourself to understand what exactly you can potentially do. So now I want to do a very little overview of potential things you can do if you study political science or human rights or international organizations, and to give you like a little scope, not even little actually. So maybe because maybe some of these things can potentially inspire you, and you can understand such a great like opportunity that you actually have if you study something international. And also, like, another thing I want to tell you is that international relations is a very young degree, and what means that it can be called in different names. It can be called or global affairs, or international relations, or something else. Like, there are so many different names, but it means the same thing usually, just about university that has like different names for this, like, and has inside different subjects. But in any case, like, it gives you a very great, good education that where you can use political science, economics, project management, etc., in order to work for different organizations. And the most classic path usually that people want to do when they study this degree is diplomacy and intergovernmental organizations, IGOs. So here, when we speak about this, usually you go to work or for Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or for the permanent missions to the UN or European Union, or different UN organizations, or European Union organizations, and etc. So it's the most classic thing you can do to become a diplomat, or for your own country. In this case, as I was explaining before, so you're going to be in the diplomat part of the international organizations, or you can work like as a diplomat inside your ministry, or you go to the UN as a management position. And what we will be speaking about later is more about this. The second part is to work for different non-governmental organizations and to do some humanitarian work. And actually, it can be also very international, because there are a lot of international NGOs, as the Red Cross, for example, Amnesty International, or Doctors Without Borders, and etc., that work with international things, and they have also offices in Geneva. Sometimes very they're very close to the UN. For example, Red Cross has an amazing office there. That's why, like, it's also a very interesting thing you can do, but they are working more with human rights issues, so it's less political, let's say, but also very interesting path that you can potentially do. Another thing is to do is development in international aid. And sometimes it's very economical. So, for example, you can work for the World Bank, or IMF, or OECD, or some local development consultancies, or organizations, or, for example, some SDGs focused programs. They also exist. So here it's going to be more about international aid if you understand that you want to work on development. There is also a separate agency of the UN that is called UNDP, that works specifically on development in the world. So it's also a very interesting career path. Then there is also a very actually pretty famous path among young people. What we see is to work for the think tanks and to do research, because when you study at university and you study this degree, so you do a lot of research, you write a lot of academic papers, and some people really find themselves in this, like, they want to research. So in this case, they can work for the international think tanks, because there are a lot of in US, in European Union too. And what is interesting about think tanks, that very often they work with the governments, and they work with international organizations anyway, because they research, they do a lot of policy analysis, and they advise governments what to do next. So that's why it's also a very interesting career, and it's very academic. It can be great for those who are interested, like, in continuing, let's say, like, writing academic papers, and at the same time have some impact on the world, like, and advise something. If you understand that you are more like business person, there are also like a lot of opportunities for you if you study international relations. And if you understand that, for example, you're more business oriented, but at the same time, you really don't want to lose this like impact wise career. In this case, you can work in international business and to connect it a bit with corporate social responsibility, because as a IR student, you understand what sustainability means and how to impact the world and how to improve it. And a lot of multinational corporations really need your skills and need your knowledge now, because they need to understand how to be more ethical, how to be socially responsible. They need somebody who can explain what SDG means and corporate responsibility means. So you can find also a lot of interesting vacancies there. So if you understand that you're more business oriented. So here, like I will just like do a very brief comment, about education and international academic cooperation, because it's also like very much about what I was telling before, like about academic career. Like so there are a lot of international programs like Erasmus, for example, that is working very much on education in the world. So we can also have a lot of interesting career paths here, because universities also have international offices that work on mobility programs, and they also need like people who can understand how to work international. So your skills can be very important here. Another very famous path now is to work with environment and sustainability directly, because there is like the whole climate diplomacy actually direction now. And UN also has a lot of institutions that work specifically with these things, as UNEP that I was telling you about. Also, there are a lot of national climate agencies that work directly with this topic. And of course, there are a lot of climate tech startups, if you understand that you work more in tech, or for example, green finance, or carbon markets, or climate risk analysis, or for example, NGO climate advocacy that works specifically with these things. So also like a very popular path that a lot of IR students go for are human rights, gender and social justice. And for this, you can find a lot of different things, starting from a UNHCR that works specifically with human rights issues, but also at the same time, a lot of interesting human rights institutions that work specifically with this, as Human Rights Watch, for example, or Amnesty International, or gender equality programs as the UN institution, UN Women, or CARE, or anti-discrimination policy institutions that work specifically with this. Another very important path now and very trendy, I would say, is migration, refugees, and statelessness. And with this, there is a UN institution called IOM, International Organization on Migration. That is sometimes when people see IOM, they don't understand that actually it's a UN, but IOM means also UN migration that works specifically with migrants. And so it's also a very important thing now, like a very interesting career that where you can find a lot of interesting institutions working with this. So on my own, I also for a couple of years worked with the JFMD Forum, that is a specific international process working on positive migration narratives on the world. So to work with this issue. So also very interesting career paths. And in this case, if you're interested in this, you really need to follow what UN migration does, because there is a whole UN network on migration that has a lot of different institutions, not only UN or governments actually, but different stakeholders that work with this, local NGOs, youth, civil society, and other stakeholders that try to work on migration in general. Another very interesting path is global health and pandemic response. So since the COVID-19, actually, what WHO does now is very popular, and a lot of people would like to work there because they understand how health important now, like after what happened, unfortunately. So there is, of course, WHO, and for those who don't know, I want to say that WHO is a part of the UN. If you don't know about this, so they also makes this like big UN circle. It's international career, and of course, WHO, besides those people who work in health, they also are interested in people who just work in project management or has like some political science degree, etc. So they're very interested in a lot of different workers, and it's a very big UN agency actually. So if you're interested in this career, so you definitely need to look for their opportunities that they post, because they need different kinds of workers. Doctors, of course, are also very important, and medical workers for them too. So another very important thing, and I would say very emergent at the moment, that is very nice to follow now, because we don't see it very popular now, but I'm pretty sure that it's very emergent, since also artificial intelligence is becoming very much very popular now. Like we all use ChatGPT, is cybersecurity, tech policy, and digital rights. And here we also have a lot of UN agencies, and one of them which I was working also on my own is UN ITU. It's a very interesting agency, not so many people know about, but actually it has an amazing office also in Geneva, as their headquarters that overlooking UN Palais. I think that's one of the most strategic actually locations in Geneva you can find. So what is good about this agency is that they are working a lot with telecommunications, and a lot with technologies, AI ethics, and they have a very big forum happening now in summer, AI for Good. I really do recommend you to look what they are doing, because if you're interested in tech policy specifically, it's exactly the forums that really invite a lot of important stakeholders in this field and digital rights. So it can be a great thing for you to know. Another thing is what you can do is, of course, finance, trade, and economic diplomacy. Here we speak about WTO, ITS, IMF, World Bank, and trade promotion agencies. And also a great career if you're more interested in economics, in economic diplomacy. So we'll go a bit faster now, like I know, because I have so much information for you. So if you want, you can do screenshots for you, to print it and to have it with yourself. Of course, you can also work in international law and justice. Usually, it requires some very often law degree, and it is a separate part. Like that's why I will not stay very long here. So here also, like if you have a law degree, but also if you have IR degree, you can work with peace and security, and to work with UN peacekeeping or OSCE field missions, for example. But another important thing I want to tell you is that, actually, if you have an IR degree or human rights, you can also work in fashion, art, and creative diplomacy. I decided to include it here because I also, on my own, when I was studying, I was more creative person. So I wanted to understand, what can I do? But at a certain moment, I was thinking maybe I have no opportunities, absolutely. But actually, you do. That's why I said that if you study IR, it's really like winning a lottery. So even if you want to work in fashion, you can also find your own way, because a lot of global fashion brands really need people who knows how sustainability works. So fashion houses and businesses really need your skills right now. Creative agencies with international cultural campaigns also need your amazing knowledge to understand what to do. And actually, so we understood at a certain moment that there are so many creative people who want to kind of work with these different fields, that we even did at Young and Hired a career course that is called Fashion and IR Careers, to explain young people who study these fields, to explain them what kind of jobs they can potentially have in art or in fashion or in creative industries. So the next question is usually that we really very often get is how to find opportunities. It's an absolutely legit question. Because we have so much information now that it's very hard to understand what to focus on. If you understand that you're yet studying, so the best thing for you to do is to usually to search for entry-level roles. Because a lot of companies, a lot of young people say that nobody needs us because we're young, we don't have work experience, etc. And actually, it's also a misconception, because a lot of companies has entry-level programs. What it means that they know that you are yet studying and that you are graduating now, and they're inviting you to join their companies. And if you search on the internet something like entry-level programs at different companies, or you go to our pages, we also have a list of those companies that want to take you for work. It doesn't make any sense to apply for positions that ask you for 3, 5, or 7 years of work experience when you're yet studying. It's better to use the door that can be open for you, because companies specifically create entry-level programs. So don't hesitate to apply for them, because they really need you now, and they're happy to teach you to become better. So if you understand that you are interested in the UN roles, so of course, like in IR roles, it's great to use the job boards. And of course, I understand that you can also tell me that they don't work, but UN is such a complex system in general that they need to have a very transparent recruitment system. That's why you have to apply through the Aspira system that they are created in order to get job applications. UN actually also has entry-level programs, and you can also apply for them. They called YPP programs, and it's not only UN itself, the headquarters, that has this program. Actually, almost every UN agency has their own YPP program, like WTO YPP program, World Bank YPP program, etc. So first step is going to be to understand UN system in general, to understand what kind of UN agency you want to target, and after that to look at their YPP program and understand how to apply. So, and now I wanted to include one slide to explain a bit about UN Careers website. Maybe some of you know about this, but what we see statistically is that people really don't know how it works. So usually when you start, so you Google something like UN Careers, it's very easy to do. And you get on the internet careers.un.org. And after that, you see here that they are offering you different, like already pages, sub-pages that you can open. And what you need is job openings. And after that, when you will open this page, so page 2, you will see is going to be a lot of different filters. So in these filters, I decided not to include everything for you, just to explain you the most important thing is, the most important thing for you is going to be to look at the levels, because UN job openings has different levels. And when you're just starting, you're going to need to choose here internships. But if you have 2 or 3 years of work experience, you can start with P1, because after that, P2 requires more work experience, P3 more, and more. So the starting point is going to be P1 in order to analyze, for example, if you don't have work experience yet. So anyway, you need to start analyzing what kind of skills you need, what kind of subjects you need to learn, what kind of extracurricular activities you need. So you just like put P1, P2, and you start analyzing different job vacancies and just looking at their requirements. You get ideas what exactly to learn. Because I know that I remember that when I was studying, I had a lot of elective courses and I didn't know what exactly to choose, because I didn't understand where I wanted to work at that moment. But I understand now that if I understood from the beginning that I need to go and see the real job openings and to look at their requirements, I already could have an idea what kind of elective subjects I could strategically choose in order to get skills that I needed in order to apply for my future job, maybe in 2 years, maybe 3 years, but already being more prepared. So after that, when you will choose the filters, you will get all the different job openings, like as you see now. For example, here we see project developer job and etc. So you will learn more if you just choose here view job openings. So another thing is, of course, like to start volunteering, studying abroad, or interning now, because more experience you get. And it's not just about like putting something in your CV. It's about understanding what exactly you like doing. Because while I was studying, I did, I guess, 5 or 6 internships. They were unpaid, but I really wanted to understand what exactly I wanted to do during my studies. So really helped me a lot to understand myself too, and to also to network with other people. Because what is important also to network, because as our new generation, it's very hard for us to network in person, to make calls. That's why you can even network online. But before networking online, you need to understand who you are. Because when you will be networking, people will start asking you, okay, so you are a IR degree student, what you are interested in. And more specific you're going to be, more chances somebody can hire you after. because when I was studying, I was always saying that I'm a communication specialist. So I'm interested in all the communications role. And of course, it helped me a lot because I already was getting some experience with this volunteering, part-time job, etc. But already people understood, okay, so she's a comm specialist, so we can help. She can help us with PR. She can help us with social media, etc. So sooner you can understand, better chances you can have because people can understand why and how they can use you. And of course, join different communities is incredibly important because this is how you can get some networking and chances. And of course, like things like alumni networks, as this one is a great thing. Erasmus Plus groups, youth delegations, SDG forums, different groups on Telegram, Slack, Discord for aspiring diplomats, for example. Even our YH community, because we have a lot of career clubs around the world at different universities where people just like meet together, and after that they get friends and then they develop their career. And it's really amazing because after that somebody get a position at a certain organization, they get cool networking for themselves, and they can save this amazing friendship for their higher life. And I wanted to as I said, like I'm very practical because this is what we do at YH. I wanted to give you a little exercise for your homework after my lecture that is called Craft Your higher career mini map. So please do a screenshot of this thing. If you want to share with us your results, you can connect with me like after or at YH and say what you got at the end. So what you need to do is to choose one global issue or sector you feel connected to. For example, I was telling you about different sectors now as gender equality or peace building, etc. But try to be more specific as possible. For example, feminist foreign policy, AI governance, or peace building in sub-Saharan Africa. After that, choose one real organization you admire or dream of working with. I was also giving you now like a lot of examples. So try to be specific, like Doctors Without Borders, EU External Action Service, and etc. And after that, step 3 is find one real job, internship, or volunteering position that you can realistically apply for in the next year. You can use different websites. You can try UN Careers because I explained you a bit how it works. You can also use Impact Pool, that UN works a lot with Impact Pool, or Idealist, or UN Jobs also is a great website, or Relief Web, for example. So if you need materials like what I was explaining to you now, at YH on our official website, we have a knowledge hub that is a really great, amazing thing you can use because we have a lot of information that we share for free, where you have a lot of UN internships, we have fellowships, we have tips, we have a lot of resources, we have a lot of links. So you also see a QR code now on the screen. So if you want to use it, like I highly recommend you because we share everything for free. So maybe it can be useful for you because when I was a student, I really it was my dream like to have a website like this. So, and of course, like let's connect if you want. I shared here a QR code for our Instagram because I understand that you are young. So we are very happy to speak and connect. And I wanted to say thank you to the organizers for inviting me because when I was a student at University of Padua, I was really dreaming of like somebody telling me all this information, and I hope that it was very useful for you. And of course, thank you for the University of Padua that really gave me my direction, and now I can tell other guys what to do next.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you very much. And I think that we can now open the Q&A session. There are 2 questions in the chat. Martina Righetti, if she's still here, wanted to go back to one slide for the peacekeeping, if I'm not wrong. Martina, if you want to ask something, you can open your microphone and maybe explain why you wanted to go back to this specific slide.
I need to go back because I wanted to do a screenshot. Just
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you.
No worries. Okay, I guess it was here.
Thank you.
Okay. Then we have Caetana, sorry if I mispronounced the name, and she's asking if we are interested in women and gender issues, what organizations can we look for?
So there are a lot of, like, of course, like if we speak about the main ones, I mean, from the international organizations, yeah, like if we look at different levels, I would suggest to look at the UN Women, but not to narrow down to this, because as I said, like UN careers usually require pretty high, like high things, high skills from you. That's why you can look at different local NGOs, even in your country, who work specifically with gender rights. So you will just like need to put the keywords and to map the actors that work there. Another very good idea is that usually UN has involve a lot of different stakeholders in different issues. And when we speak about gender equality, they also have a separate network of gender equality that works specifically with these issues. So you can just like search the web and look at the gender equality network and see different stakeholders there who work there, and you can understand more or less who are shaping the agenda, and try to work with those stakeholders, like, and be somehow like engaged already in the international dialogue.
Okay, thank you. I think we have another question from Caetana. If you have 2 years of work experience, but one is paid, one was paid internship, can I apply for P1 position?
Usually P1 positions require at least 3 years of work experience, but sometimes it also happens that 2 years are enough. Sometimes even like for G positions, it's not required, and it's enough if you just studied at high school. But if we speak about P1, so it can be actually, if it's a paid internship, it can be counted, but again, it depends on the agency. For example, at UNESCO, usually internships are cut in 2 parts. So it means that, for example, if you had an internship for 6 months, in this case, it's going to be counted as a 3 months work experience. So it's very important, like, to understand where exactly you're applying. But usually when you look at the job vacancy, they're explaining all these rules. So you just need to read everything and understand that no, it's it's a lot of information when you search for a job, but anyway, like, it's usually explained transparently.
Okay, thank you. Then we have a question from Pietro Fontana. What is the best way to let the organization know how much are you interested to be part of it?
Actually, it's there are some ways. So we usually advise our students to, when you write your cover letter, don't just explain who you are, but offer something to organization. So for example, you apply for the, let's say, UNEP comms position, communications. So read the job vacancy carefully, because every job vacancy is like call for help. They do a specific project and they need a person who can help with this. So they want to invest in this person and to buy your expertise. Try to analyze carefully why exactly they need this kind of specialist. If it's a communication specialist, okay, analyze their social media, analyze how they are present in media. And after that, pitch your idea. Pitch your idea in your cover letter, explain who you are, and after that, pitch it and say, okay, so if you, I mean, I'm saying in simple words, you don't need to write like this, okay? Because after that, you say that she said it to me like this. So you just say, like, I'm Victoria, I'm a communication specialist. I would like to work for this position. And what I see now, the situation is like this. If we work together, we can do A, B, C, and get this kind of results and metrics in a couple of months. So what you are saying, it's like a business pitch, actually. So you're pitching your idea and saying, invest in me, this kind of salary, and we will get this kind of metrics with you. This is the best way to show that you are interested. If you're just writing and saying, so we did a podcast with one of the UN diplomats, and this is a phrase I really liked. He was saying, because he is looking at the candidates at UNFAO, and he was telling me, every second cover letter tells me I want to save the world. And I want to see real, actually, metrics. I want to see real examples of what exactly we can do together. So this is the best way you can show not only that you are interested in this specific organization and that you analyzed, but actually that you show your analytical skills, you show your expertise, and you can explain what exactly we can do together. And this is, like, I think, the best way, but from my point of view, of course.
Okay, thank you. Then we have Vanessa. Can you be more specific about opportunities in the human rights path and NGOs?
Okay, so yeah, it's a very wide question.
Yeah,
like,
it
because
is.
here, like, when you speak about opportunities, you need to divide them into this question need to be divided into. I want to work for a specific organization, or I want to have a specific position. Because in human rights, we have human rights organizations like UNHCR, yeah, like Human Rights Watch, etc., where you can work and do different things. You can be a project manager, you can be a lawyer, or you can be a driver there. Yeah, as I said, like, I mean, again, like simplifying the thing. If we speak about human rights career, in this case, of course, one of the main job vacancy you need to look at is a human rights officer. And human rights officer has a very interesting career path. You can find them in different organizations, and not only those specific ones. As I said, yeah, like Human Rights Watch or UNHCR, etc. You can find them in different organizations that are somehow connected with global affairs. So this is like the definition you need to look at.
Okay, thank you. Then we have Lydia. What would you recommend for the for environmental policies and behavioral sciences like environmental sorry, psychology? And then she's thanking you for the presentation, which is a great job.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that you're interested to work in climate, so to look at everything what UNEP does is going to be really amazing. Because it's a great organization with a great communication office. They're really the job they're doing is really amazing, and to look at the career that you can pursue there is a great thing you can do. Of course, as I said again, like it can be very ambitious at the beginning. That's why to look at the international NGOs like WWF or Greenpeace can be a great thing also like to work for, because these kind of international organizations are pretty strong, and they do a lot of amazing collaborations with different stakeholders, including business. And if you, for your inspiration, if you want, you can try to look at different collaboration projects that WWF and Greenpeace did with even fashion brands. It's really great and very creative and interesting career you can potentially have in order to see how how these organizations are making other stakeholders, including business, to do different climate things that can save the world, like, and do a better thing. So if I was you, I would go for something like this, I think. Of course, then like you can work in climate for also like governmental institutions and doing more governmental work. But here you need to understand from yourself, you're more what? You're more structural, and you need something where you can understand what is going to happen tomorrow. In this case, of course, like to have a governance work is better. You are more creative and you want to do more corporate life. In this case, of course, like to work for business or international NGO is going to be more interesting for you. So when you ask like what kind of career you want to do, first you need to understand, as I said in the presentation, who you are. You are how? Because what is also happening very often is that you start a career, you work for a couple of years, and then you get bored. And you understand that it's not really what you wanted. It was a big mistake what you did. Like that's why better to start with yourself, because when you are passionate about your career, so you see no barriers, you are growing, you're going next, you're coming up with different ideas, and it's really beautiful to see when a person is passionate about the career.
Okay, then we have quite an issue with Abdo. He's asking, he or she, are there limitations as a non-EU citizen living in Italy to apply for a job openings in Geneva, for example? And how do we overcome these limitations if possible? Also, should I just focus on somehow finding a job in Italy, and due to visa issues, if it wouldn't be realistic to apply for a position with the UN and NGOs in Brussels or Netherlands, for example? Thanks.
So we actually also like work a lot with non-EU citizens, and we even launched this April a separate like career course called Careers in Europe to explain non-European citizen how to find opportunities for yourself in Europe. So to considering all these like issues as visa issues and etc. So let's go like from the last part of this question. If you're a non-European Union citizen for UN, it doesn't really change anything for you, because UN doesn't limit you. And actually, if you're from a non-European country, you have better chances than from a European country. Why? Because UN needs to balance all the countries, because it's an international organization. It's not a European organization or a Swiss organization or US organization. So they need to balance and to have all the nationalities inside the organization. So if they understand that there are non-represented countries or underrepresented, in this case, of course, they will consider more candidates from this or from these countries. So that's why, again, like, it doesn't matter from which country you are for the UN or international NGOs. Sometimes it doesn't limit you. So if you are trying to find opportunities in the European Union and you are studying in Italy or you are living, so again, like, you have a permit for, usually European Union is supporting a lot international students and giving them the possibility to search for a job and giving them a pretty big duration of time, like while when they can find a job. So in Italy, for example, it's 1 year after your graduation. It's pretty big, like comparing to many countries in the world. So of course, like some I know that some give too, but anyway, like 1 year is also like a pretty big like period of time. You can try to find a job and you're legal in this case. Like in European Union is supporting a lot international students like in this moment. So the only limitations you can potentially have are all the government jobs, but as it is like in all the countries of the world where you need a citizenship to work with governmental things. So that's why maybe you will not be allowed to apply for a position as a European citizen for certain institutions. But in general, as international students for international organizations, you have no limitations. You have a possibility to work with this. And actually, European Union also has a separate website called EURES, where they're supporting international and non-international students to get a job. And they even have free consultations with different workers. You can set a call with them like through the website, and they can also like teach you how to find a job like in a specific country. Another amazing thing that European Union has is a European Blue Book that is also supporting a lot of international students and international workers all around the world. It doesn't matter you're studying, you're not studying, but you can also like apply for the European Union Blue Book and get a visa permit, and at the same time get an opportunity in the European Union.
Okay. Victoria, how much time do you have? Because we have a lot of questions. So if you need to go, I mean, we can maybe ask or you to reply to the persons through mails or something. I don't know.
Yeah, of course. I
There,
mean,
yeah, there are lots of questions. Maybe, okay, we can.
I got used to it like the
Yeah,
years
yeah,
of
I
my
can
age.
imagine. I can imagine.
Of course, like if you want like to ask us questions, that's why I was like sharing our accounts. If you want, I can also like share again like our website and our Instagram account, so you can if you want like write to us or like ask questions or like even have a consultations with our specialists, because the majority of them work for the UN institutions, and they can maybe you are interested to work for a specific organization. In this case, we can organize a consultation with this person, like, and to advise you something like to look at your CV, etc. So it's also a possibility for this. So you're welcome absolutely for this.
Yeah, I didn't want to stop you. I mean, but the questions are a lot, and I think that probably we can pick two more, and then we can it's more than an hour of connection. Okay, so forgive me if I'm picking the not yours questions, but there are two. This is quite nice. You mentioned your work is absolutely connected with your own pains and problems that you had. Could you elaborate on what those specific challenges were in your own journey and how they motivated you to create Young and Hired?
Yeah, I hope that my connection is good and you can hear me. Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
let me know if you cannot. My pains and problems. Yeah, it's like like a conversation with a psychologist. My pain was that it's a very wide degree, and I understood that I had so many. I mean, first of all, I really liked my master's degree at University of Padua. I was really like in love. You have no idea how much. Every course I was taking, I was falling in love with every course. Like project management, I was in love with this. Gender equality, I was in love with this. And etc. But you cannot choose everything at the same time. You need to narrow it down and go specifically. And thanks God that I was doing communication at the same time, because I was narrowing down to this. And this is what really was one of my pains, because every time when I was going to the career fairs organized by universities, every organizations was asking me okay, so you are studying international relations, so what job would you like to have? And here I didn't have an answer, because I was saying I'm studying international relations. They was like, okay, but what would you like to do? And that was my pain. And when I was creating Young and Hired, I was explaining, we were doing a lot of publications exactly about this. We were saying, okay, you study international relations, but you're interested in economics. What kind of job roles you can have? It sounds like a very simple thing, but it really helps you a lot to understand what exactly you can do, because this is how you can narrow down this thing and understand. You can narrow down how to prepare your CV and etc. Another my big problem was that I didn't have any connections, networking, etc. And I had this misconception that you need to know somebody in order to get inside. It's such a misconception. Actually, I'm so happy that I understood that it's not like this. It's not about knowing somebody. It's about knowing the structure of international organizations. It's about knowing the recruitment system. It's about reading the job vacancy in general. And when I was creating Young and Hired, I was explaining this. I was explaining very simple things like how to open UN Careers website, how to set the filters, what to pay attention to when you look at the job vacancy. It seems like something very simple, but in reality it's not, because this is where you can get a lot of information about what to do next. So I hope that more or less I answered the question.
Okay, then we have Ermin. If I have a bachelor in law and I'm projecting on doing a master in international law, while doing the master, can I apply to a job for experience purpose for 3 years, and after finishing my master, applying to a job at the UN?
Yes, and I saw actual examples like this. I think that I even interviewed one girl. You can find it on my account, that exactly did this thing. She studied law for her bachelor's degree. After that, she worked as a lawyer for some period in her country. And she was trying to apply for the UN. She got rejected. So she got a job at her local company at her country. She got experience. After that, she did master's degree and she reapplied for the UN, and now she works in Geneva. So it's a great way. It's very, it's proved, let's say. Yeah, there are stories like this. It's a great part. It's better than doing bachelor's, master's, and then applying for the UN. You need experience. It's a high level job and you need to take it seriously and not to get offended thinking that you're rejected. And I also wanted to tell you one more thing, since we work a lot with UN jobs, especially. Anyway, we don't work only with the UN jobs. People who get a position, internship, P1, etc., they sometimes apply more than 20 or 30 times. And they get rejected also this number, and sometimes even more, sometimes 50. But it's about your persistence and about learning how it works, like exams, like international exams. It's about the structure very often.
Okay, thank you very much. And the last one, I promise, the last one. Okay, thank you for the brilliant presentation. Could you please tell me what measures should I need to take now, as I want to work in the UN, EU, specifically in the human rights and migrant sector? I am a PhD student and my research is focused on the immigration governance of the European Union. This is Sadia.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really advise you to look at what GFMD Forum does, because it's one of the main processes in the world working on migration at the moment, that is guided by the UN Migration Office, and to try to be engaged as a civil society, as an academia, and as one of the stakeholders, because it's an open forum where you can try to get engaged somehow, because you need to start networking and understand not only from the academic point of view, but in the real practical way, what is going on in the world now. And of course, to look at what UN Migration Network is doing. It's a separate website you can find online. You can see at different stakeholders there, but also at the main projects that is happening, because there are
Oops. We have a problem with the connection, Victoria's connection. Okay. By the way, Nick has shared in the chat the website where you can be connected with Victoria and ask all the questions about, you know, your future career. And as we said before, we will share the record of this session with you, and by mail, and the video will be then also uploaded in. Here we are. Maybe she's entering. Will be uploaded in the Arcus website and in the Alumni Association one. I think we lost Victoria. Okay. So I thank you very much for your time and your availability with us. Unfortunately, we cannot have Victoria connected again. So again, thank you very much. And if you have questions, be connected with. Okay, here we are. Sorry, we lost you, and I was trying to close. The session, saying that they can write to you so that you can keep in contact. Please, Victoria, the last words and greetings. Can you hear me? Oh, no, I think he's frozen again. Okay, you can also write in Instagram at Young and Hired, and you can see the address in the chat. Okay, thank you very much indeed for your presence. Bye-bye.